All right, we're live. It's been a
Oh,
while.
okay.
Been a while. Hey, you got your mug?
I have my mug. Yes.
These are our new Misfits and Miscreants branded mugs. Yours, explain yours and I'll explain my whole. Mine's got two sides. I think yours has got two sides too.
Yes. Okay, so there's a picture of Aleister Crowley on there. And then there's another picture of Aleister Crowley on the other side. And on both sides, it says disobey.
Both sides?
Yes. Yeah, both sides say disobey. And so I'm that's my kind of way of rebelling against the powers that be, the globalists, kind of like my little smidgen of rebellion, sticking it to the man.
But what's that got to do with Aleister Crowley? Because did he say that, or is that representative of his philosophy?
No, just the ultimate rebel.
Yeah,
like,
he was okay.
Everything. Like if you know about Aleister Crowley, he was deemed the wickedest man on earth in the early 1900s, and he was an occultist. He dealt with a lot of occult stuff, and he dabbled in alcohol and drugs, and he had sex with males, females. I think even had sex with animals, and every single vice that there was known, he did it.
He was a real miscreant.
Yes, and he grew up in kind of a repressive household, very religious.
Yeah.
And when he got to university, he just went crazy. He would frequent prostitutes. And
so fair to say he took deviancy to the absolute outlier's edge of where he could at this, considering the times.
Yes. And he also invented a religion called Thelema. And the main commandment was do as thou wilt, which to me means do what you want.
No rules.
No rules. And he got kicked out of Italy because he kind of had a cult following. I think this was in the early 1920s.
Right.
And somebody died from some sort of poisoning.
Right.
And they thought the reason he died was because he drank the blood of a cat during a human sacrifice. But not a human sacrifice, a cat sacrifice. However, that wasn't the truth. He got sick from something else, which was not, nothing to do with eating cats or anything like that. Anyways, it was a small village in Italy, and the authorities kicked him out. And he actually, there's rumors that he is the father of Barbara Bush.
And where'd that rumor come from?
I don't know, but it's on the internet that he may be the father of Barbara Bush.
Well, okay, let's suppose for a minute. Let's investigate that rumor. Why would somebody, let's assume there's absolutely no basis for it.
Okay.
So if that were the case, why would somebody say that? It's so random. It's so random.
I don't know the details, but he visited the U.S. a few times. He was a British guy, right?
Mm-hmm.
And somehow he, for some reason, even though he wasn't the best looking guy in the world, he was able to attract lots of women.
Yeah. Even Barbara Bush.
Barbara Bush's mother.
Oh, the mother. Okay.
Of Barbara Bush.
Maybe she was attractive. I know Barbara Bush was certainly not a very attractive looking woman.
No, but it's somehow he got involved with Barbara Bush's mother. I don't know the details. And I couldn't. Disclaimer, this is just conjecture and opinion. I'm probably wrong, so nobody sued me,
Yeah.
But so that's one thing. Another thing that Aleister Crowley did is he bought this house in, I think it's called Bullskin. It's a village or a town in England.
Mm-hmm.
And he was living with this guy. They're like partners in the occult. And they're trying to conjure up demons for some reason. But the Aleister Crowley was also a lot into magic. But it was a long process of conjuring up these demons. Like it was going to take several months of different spells and rituals. And about halfway through or partway through, they just gave up. They no, this isn't worth it. We're not going to waste our time. Fast forward to the 70s or 80s. I don't know exactly when. Jimmy Page of Led Zeppelin bought Bullskin Manor. Okay. And there's
way back.
Yeah. There's reports that whenever there are guests or people visiting Bullskin Manor at Jimmy Page's place, there's all sorts of weird stuff happening there. And
I think Jimmy Page had a fascination with the occult, and I remember in the 70s reading articles and interviews with him.
Yeah, yeah. So I think he eventually sold the place, and the Boleskine Manor burnt down a couple of years ago.
Okay, must have been those damn demons.
I don't know, but it was an old house. It was like over 100 years old.
Yeah, yeah.
So Aleister Crowley, interesting character. I liked his audacity.
Mm-hmm.
He just went on, and unfortunately, or fortunately, however you look at it, he died a broken down old man.
Yeah,
Like in his 70s, and I think he had every single type of STD there was, and he was a drug addict, and alcoholic, and you name it. He was in his 70s, and he died penniless in a rooming house in England in, I think, 1947. No friends, no family. Well, he had several wives and he had children, but his insanity kind of drove people away.
Yeah.
And, very charismatic. He belonged to all sorts of weird orders, like college clubs or fraternities that were a little bit more like weird,
yeah,
like or whatever. And he got kicked out of those orders. He would try to run them, you know. Yeah. I think there's one called the Golden Dawn, or something. Golden Dawn is in the title. I don't know if that's the exact title, but. And Aleister Crowley grew up, he inherited a lot of money. So for a while, he was like living off of his inheritance. Plus, he was a mountaineer. He did lots of world traveling. And he, in a way, he kind of like lived life to the fullest. He was just trying to try everything and do everything. And,
yeah. Do you think his money and somehow being raised in a very oppressive religious family and circumstances, you combine the two? I've often said this, people who are successful, sometimes their success is their worst enemy. And you take that idea, and I'm not saying that having a bunch of money is successful, but it's a fuel that will reveal your true nature. And you can apply the same thing to somebody who, I see people I study business all the time. I see people who in business, they become successful and it goes to their head and they get lots of money and they end up gambling it all away or developing some really bad habits and they lose it all. So you could say that's a corollary to possibly behind Aleister Crowley and what could explain why he went to such extremes, oppression, and then he had money. Money became the fuel that gave him the freedom to do absolutely anything he wanted.
Well, I think the money definitely allowed him the freedom to do what he wanted. Mm-hmm. Now, I don't think I don't know if it totally fueled his obsessions or his passions. I think he probably would have done that one way or the other, regardless.
Probably would have been a little more limited.
He'd definitely be limited. He wouldn't be able to do all this traveling and stuff because he did lots of traveling around the world.
He would have been the badass in the village next door, 10 miles down the down the dirt.
Probably would have been a minor character, but and he did run out of money. I think by the 1920s he ran out of money. Yeah, or the 19 teens or whatever. And so interesting character, Aleister Crowley. They made songs about him. Ozzy Osbourne wrote a song about him. His picture is on the Sgt. Pepper album.
It is really.
Yeah. And I think he's referred to a lot by different musicians, and he's like a cult figure in the music world and the art world. Mm-hmm. I think, and he's written several books. I tried reading one of his books. I forget the title of it, but it's gibberish. It's just like, what are you talking about? It's just made up verbal diarrhea. I don't know. Verbal diarrhea it's a very common term, but I don't know what you're trying to get across.
So he's on your mug because he represents the audacity.
The audacity and the rebellion and sticking it to the man type, which appeals to me, Yeah.
So he's that. He's not necessarily somebody that you're putting on a pedestal. Like
no, like he's a scumbag. Like, but in some way, he's kind of like he's an anti-hero.
Anti-hero, yeah.
Yeah, I admire him for his audacity and for his conviction and doing whatever the hell he wants. Now, he probably hurt a lot of people. He wasn't a murderer or anything like that.
You think so?
I don't think he was. There's no. I've watched lots of videos on him and I've read about him.
I mean, do you think he hurt a lot of people?
Oh, emotionally, yeah.
Really?
I think he manipulated a lot of people and probably emotionally damaged because I think he was living the ultimate self-will run riot. It's all about me. It's all about me, and I don't care. You're going to fit in somehow into my plans. That type of character.
Complete and total selfish hedonism.
And the women that were involved with him were quite damaged. They're probably just wanting to be led by him, and controlled. And I think one of them left him, because they had enough. Like,
interesting character.
Yeah. So your mug, THX.
Stay calm.
Yes, stay calm. Yes.
From the movie.
THX 1138.
Yeah, we've talked about that movie before, and I love that movie, and I rediscovered it again after you and I watched it a few months ago, and we've talked about it on this.
Yeah.
But what I find fascinating, and the reason I put it in this mug, is because of the fact that I think that that's where we're going right now, into the society we're going to. If you ever watch that movie, if you've seen it, anybody watching this, when we were watching, I don't know if I was thinking it or if I said it out loud to you, Henry, when we were watching the movie. I was like, oh yeah, we're heading there. This is where society is heading. This is where society is heading. It's very, very 1984. So ever since the pandemic hit, this has been ruminating in my brain. And on the other side is, I love this. You are a true believer. Blessings of the state, blessings of the masses. So this is one of the, I don't know if it's a confessional or a place where you go.
It was a confessional kiosk. Yeah, it was like a hologram of Jesus type figure.
Yeah.
And you go there and you tell them all your troubles.
Yeah.
And then the hologram will give you pat answers. Formulaic answers.
And that's one of the answers.
That's comfort you.
That was towards the ending of the meeting with the Jesus character.
Yes.
And by the way, that's a painting of a famous Renaissance painter.
Oh.
If you Google THX 1138, you are a true believer. That painting will show up. Blessings of the state, blessings of the masses, and there's a bunch of other lines that have to do with keep consuming. So it's all about consumerism, and very, very dystopian scene. I mean, both those scenes. The whole movie is off the charts dystopian. It's almost.
Have you seen They Live, the movie?
Which one?
They Live.
Never heard of it.
Roddy Piper is in it. He's this wrestler. He died recently, or 10 years ago. But okay, so in the future, aliens have infiltrated humans, and they look like humans. However, if you wear these special glasses and you put them on, you can see who the aliens are. Okay, and Roddy Piper, the main character, he plays this. I don't know if he's kind of like this construction worker guy. It's in the near future, and people are in soup lines and bread lines, and it's not a good society. And he does odd jobs, and he finds a box of these glasses, and he puts them on, and everywhere he sees, like every fifth or sixth person is an alien. They got these really weird faces. And then there's all these signs, subliminal, like you don't see them if you don't have the glasses, but obey, consume, subliminal signs everywhere, right? Yeah. So in the movie, when he finds out what's going on, he meets this other guy, and he tries to convince him to put the glasses on, and the guy refuses to put the glasses on because he's like, who's this guy? He's crazy. He's trying to make me put these glasses. So a big fight ensues. It's like about a 10-minute fight scene. Put the glasses on. No. And then finally, the guy decides to put the glasses on, and he sees, oh my God, like you're right. There's all these aliens. And then they find out that there's this big transmitter that if they knock it out, everybody will be able to see the aliens.
Is it a 5G transmitter?
This was in the late. This movie came out in the mid or late 80s.
Wouldn't that be
Carpenter directed it?
Wouldn't that be sort of prophetic though, if 5G was in the title of that?
Oh my God! Yes, that would be bizarre.
And William Gates was sort of the leader alien.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's a cult classic. They Live, great movie.
Never heard of it. I'm gonna check it out. And did you say Carpenter?
John Carpenter directed it.
Yeah, so it's got to be half decent.
Oh yeah, it's very well done.
Yeah,
it's funny. Some parts, it's really funny.
So this painting was by Hans Memling. I just found it. He lived from 1430 to 1494, and he was from Flanders, which would be Belgium.
Okay.
But anyways, and the full quote is, "You are a true believer, blessings of the state, blessings of the masses, thou art a subject of the divine. created in the image of man by the masses for the masses. Let us be thankful we have an occupation to fill. Work hard, increase production, prevent accidents, and be happy. It sort of sounds like Klaus Schwab. You will own nothing and you will be happy.
Yeah, that's scary, man. That's creepy. Like,
yeah, technocracy. It's technocracy.
Yeah.
And
yes,
which is an interesting political movement that's been around since the early 70s. But we'll get into that another day. But this fascinates the hell out of me. If you haven't seen this movie,
well, everybody out there, you got to watch the movie. And They Live.
And They Live.
Plug for They Live.
So I got to ask you a question. Do you own that movie in your massive collection?
Not They Live. Unfortunately, I had a chance to buy it when it was really cheap, and for some reason I didn't.
Oh, well.
I was just kind of in budget mode, and I figured, do I really need to buy this?
Well,
and then now I didn't buy it.
You should have.
You should have, because on Amazon it's like really expensive now.
Oh, really?
Yes, yeah, because it's such a cult classic, and
yeah,
that happens with some movies where at the time it's like, and then a couple years later they're rare and they're over $30.
Well, I watched the Blockbuster documentary on Netflix, The Last Blockbuster.
Is that what it's called?
Yeah, it's there's a Blockbuster up in Bend, Oregon. It's the last. It goes through the whole history of Blockbuster. Blockbuster the company was one of the largest companies.
Okay.
And they had an opportunity to buy Netflix at one time, and they said no. And they made a bunch of blunders, and they obviously went bankrupt. Except one store still survives, and it's like classic. People go there because they want to have that experience. I don't know if it was relevant to you, but when my daughter was young, we'd go to the Blockbuster. That was what we did every single weekend. We'd go to Blockbuster, get a couple movies, go on Friday, go on Saturday. And it's an interesting documentary. But what fascinated me, and it kind of is relevant to you, Henry, because I'm like asking myself, people don't have DVD players or Blu-ray players or VCRs anymore. But people are still going there. It's keeping this store going. They're obviously still turning the profit, but especially since this documentary came out, because people are much more aware of it now than ever. But you have a Blu-ray player, you have a collection of movies, so you don't do the Netflix thing or streaming of any sorts.
No, I'm a hands-on guy. Even like the car I'm driving has a CD player. And I want to, and what upsets me is, I used to work for a car rental company. I was a driver, and most of the cars did not have CD players.
Mm-hmm.
You hook it up to your MP3 contraption or whatever you call it.
Yeah.
To me, it's just like overly complicated. I just want to put the music in the slot and, not have to program and download stuff. And to me, it's just, somehow it's just not right. I don't know. I like hands-on. Same with books.
Yeah.
Never was into Kindle. I probably would like it if I got into it, but no, give me a real book to hold in my hands, and I'll be happy.
You are a Luddite.
I'm a Luddite, although I am an internet addict. I love YouTube. I love BitChute. I love surfing the net. To me, it's like one big, massive library.
Yeah, a library is a good way to describe it. So,
but I'm not a social media guy. I don't like the whole social media.
Well, I quit Twitter, and if I had it my way, I would quit Facebook altogether and just stick with YouTube. I think Facebook is a cesspool of narcissism, and Twitter is a cesspool of hate. I don't get it. There's so much hatred on it, and I don't blame you. It's a good thing to get away from.
Well, I don't want to sound too virtuous. A lot of it is because I'm one of those guys who likes to take the path of least resistance.
Mm-hmm.
So it would just mean I would have to learn how to use that stuff.
There's that too.
And it's just like, I don't want to learn anything extra. I know enough already about stuff. If I have to learn something, I'll do it. But it's like almost as if now I got to learn how to do this. And I just don't have the inclination or the time to do that.
You are a Luddite.
I'm a Luddite, and I'm sort of lazy,
Well, go with Luddite. You're
okay. I'm a Luddite. Yes. Like I'd love to have. I think they should have rotary dial cell phones.
Well, if I had, yeah, that would, if I had a business like takeout place or something like that, and people were coming in picking up stuff and whatnot, and I had a phone
Yeah.
there, that's what I would get. But one of the reasons I would get it is because it's kind of cool, because it's
Yes.
retro.
Yeah.
But I would get it for the same reason that you wanted, is you're hands-on. Just
Yeah.
like, don't you miss those days of picking out an album and you had to,
Oh yeah.
you take it out? It was like a ritual.
Yes.
It's sort of coming back a little bit with the millennials who are into vinyl records and whatnot. But that's all going away with everything going online and on the cloud, and everything just sort of like app based, with Spotify and Netflix and everything. So anachronistic, belonging to a period other than that being portrayed. So that's why you have an outhouse, a water pump.
Yeah, well, no, I'm not that far. I do believe in flush toilets. I thought they're a good thing. I think electricity is a good thing.
And an ice box.
I have an ice box, yes.
And your stove is a wood-fired stove. You got to put some logs in the morning.
And every night in the parlor, I will watch the YouTube
in the parlor. We will read verses from thine Bible.
Yes.
Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn is the name of the order.
Okay.
I just found it.
Okay.
It was in Great Britain, and it practices on theurgy and spiritual development. So ritual, magic, blah, blah, blah. Wicca, Thelema. So there you go.
Yeah.
It says the three founders were not, he doesn't get mentioned in here, but William Woodman, William Westcott, and Samuel Mathers, but they were Freemasons. I don't know if there's a connection.
I think he got kicked out of the Golden Dawn, or I think it did not go well with him with the Golden Dawn people.
Yeah. He was they sound like they're on the fringes. Oh, there's a mention here of Aleister Crowley. There he is in the golden age from the mid 1890s. Blah, 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 blah. So, but anyways, interesting little bit of history and random bits of trivia linked and not linked to Aleister Crowley. So I want to ask you a couple questions, take the conversation somewhere else.
All right.
I watched The Irishman the other day.
Okay.
And you've seen it.
Yes.
And it's a true story.
Yes.
And I've noticed in the last 4 months or so, there's apocalyptic movies that I really like The Road, which had what's his name in it? He was also in Eastern Promises.
Viggo Mortensen.
Yeah, and there was another movie. Shit, I wish I had a memory. But anyways, apocalyptic movies. I've been purposely staying away from those movies because they're kind of dark.
Yeah.
And I'm going through a dark phase in my life with all that is going on, and probably because I read too much and watch too many videos, and I'm searching, looking for answers as to what the hell's going on. And I kind of think in a sense that civilization is going to hell in a handbasket, which is one of the questions I wanted to ask you, but let's get to that in a minute. I'm going to revert back to the other question. And it has to do with Aleister, who died sort of in his old age. He didn't seem to have a good time. But the guy in The Irishman, whose name I don't know, but it was a true story, which totally blew me away. I had no idea it was a true story, based on a book that somebody wrote. And apparently he was the guy who was the hitman. He was also a really good friend of Jimmy Hoffa, and he was the same guy who killed Jimmy Hoffa, according to the story. I mean, nobody can really prove it. Either way, the guy was a badass and disenfranchised, especially from one of his daughters, but I think most of his family were disenfranchised from him. And in his later part, it's kind of sad. In his later part in life, he was in an old age home and couldn't walk. He was in a wheelchair, and he took to religion. And there was a priest you remember that the priest was in prayers and all that. It was like he was reaching for salvation of some sort. Like he was racked with guilt of some sort. And that led me to, and when you just said the thing about Aleister and Aleister dying in his old age, or sort of having a miserable time of it when he was older. So the big question, and I tie that to this big question, the big question is there a hell? And is hell an allegory and or a metaphor for that kind of a situation, which is something I've always wondered and thought about and thought, you know what? When you think of the biblical terminologies and the stories, you think, that's bullshit. There's no, but that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the symbolism and the allegory behind it all. You can take it to Adam and Eve all the way to whatever the definition of hell means. I mean, there's the childish definition. You're going to go to hell because you sinned and you're going to burn, and that's your eternity, which is pretty dark.
Yes.
But means that I think what hell means is if you don't live a good life, if you make a lot of bad decisions, eventually you just get into a really, really shitty place and you just die a shitty death. And your last years are shitty. And I was thinking about that with The Irishman. And again, Alistair, you just mentioned that. And I heard a quote from somebody somewhere. I don't know, I think I was reading it or I might have been in the podcast. Somebody was saying that their mother used to tell them this all the time. Die right. Which meant live right so that you can die right. In a sense. But anyways, what do you think? Do you think there's something to that, or am I just sort of like reaching for nonsense here insofar as the definition, whether it's symbolism and allegory metaphor or not, is there a hell and what is it?
Okay, my definition of hell is the worst state of suffering you can imagine that is eternal.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it be burning in a lake of fire or just being stuck in a room that's dark or whatever. It's a very uncomfortable, at best uncomfortable state to be in. Whether there's a hell or not, I honestly don't know. I hope not. Even the most despicable, evil, vilest human being does not deserve eternal damnation.
Eternal.
Yeah. Maybe a Graham's number amount of years. Yeah. We talked about that earlier.
Yeah,
okay, people look up Graham's number, the biggest number. It's a really big number. Anyways.
But it's finite.
Yes, it's finite. Hell is longer than that. Anyways. So I hope there is no hell because that's a horrible scenario. I don't care what even the people in my life that I detested the most, I wouldn't want to see them go to hell for eternity. That's just horrible.
Everybody deserves a chance.
Yeah. I think hell, the concept of hell was invented by the clergy or people in power to keep people in line, scare them. If you don't do this, you're going to go to hell. And obviously, and that's kind of, it's not very spiritual because instead of doing good or not sinning just for the sake because it's the right thing to do and people should want to do good, the only reason they do good is so that they don't go to HE double hockey stick, Well, the reason I'm doing all this good stuff is so I don't want to burn for eternity. It's not because, it'll help other people or it's good to be kind and helpful. It's, that's not the reason you're doing it. You're doing it so that, it's in a way, it's a selfish thing. You're doing good to stay out of trouble.
Mm-hmm.
And you should be doing good just for the sake of doing good because it's the right thing to do.
Yeah.
That's my opinion.
Well, and I think it's heading in the right direction.
Yeah. Now, hell to me is a state of suffering, of some sort of suffering.
Yeah.
So there can be hell on earth. People do make their own hells, like drug addicts are in hell. People make their lives a living hell. Other people make life for other people a living hell. War is hell. Being in chronic pain, dying of cancer is probably hellish, So, you can use hell in all sorts of ways. I assume Aleister Crowley died a very miserable, unhappy man. I don't know.
But sounds that way.
Yeah. Now, is that hell? Well, to him, most likely is, So I just hope there is no hell. Now, is there a reward system after you die? I don't know. I have this sense of justice. I think a lot of people do, where there needs to be a balance. Things have to balance out. So if you got all these people that are doing all these horrible, despicable, bad things, well, it just seems it would be very unfair that they get to heaven. Maybe the thing is not that they get to heaven. Maybe they don't go to heaven, but then they don't go to hell either. They don't get a reward. They just kind of like cease to exist, or maybe their afterlife isn't that great, but it's not hellish, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. Like, will we ever know? Like, okay, for instance, here's a thought. Okay, so most people think that, you know, there's a heaven and a hell. When you die, you go somewhere, right? Okay. Do we really know that for sure? And here's the thing. You know, you'll say, well, I don't know if there's a heaven or a hell, or if there's a God. I'll find out when I'm dead. Well, if you cease to exist and cease all consciousness, you won't know one way or the other whether there is a God or not.
No.
So it'd be kind of nice to die knowing that, oh, it is true. You know, I don't know. It's it blows my mind.
Yeah, no, it's an interesting. I find it's an interesting idea. Well, there's a lot of the symbolism I find interesting, so that's why I brought it up. And I was thinking about it again because of that movie. And that's how I perceive it, at least minimally.
Yeah.
The bigger question, eternal life and all that, I have no idea. I have no idea. I don't even think anybody can pretend to know. And anybody who pretends to know, I think I don't want to say it's, I think it's hubris to pretend to know.
Yeah.
Because you don't know. However, minimally, I believe it's at least like, because I think in terms of how long have humans been around, when did consciousness start?
Yeah.
Whether or not we started by taking magic mushrooms and getting all these visions, and then language got created and consciousness got built, whether or not it was aliens that came down, whether or not there was a supernatural force that was a godlike force, a divine force through Jesus and all that stuff, and Brahma and Namaste and all that stuff, Bhagavad Gita, you know, all of that, whether or not any of that's actually true or not, all that aside, I'm just looking at it from a purely evolutionary stance, at least minimally in that way, shape, or form. I can sort of formulate, all right, there's a very strong possible connection that hell means you got to at least live your life right.
Yeah.
A lot of smart, because I don't think we're good by nature. I've heard people talk about that before. And I think hell is just the avoidance of going down the darker roads and making bad decisions. Like you make that bad decision, and then, so, you know, this discussion has come up with, I think I've talked about it with you and a few others regarding my father-in-law, who was a severe chronic alcoholic, and then he sobered up for a couple of years, and then he went back out drinking, and he just seemed to go darker. He went darker. So it's like when you make these bad decisions in life, and it seems like, okay, if you sort of get on the path of, let's call it redemption for a lack of a better word, and then you go back into those bad decisions, it's almost like you're just locking it in and you're just going to head nowhere. And it could have been with somebody like the Irishman, that character. I mean, at some point in his life, he probably struggled with what he was doing because he was murdering people. He was a hitman for the mob, right? And at some point in time, he probably made decisions that just locked it in for him, and that's how he lived out his life. And it didn't really affect him until his last 5 or 6 years of his life, where he was completely disenfranchised from his family and probably had to deal with his consciousness. So that guilt that comes later in life as you get older is hell. That's my definition of hell as I know it.
Okay.
Interesting ideas anyways, I think. Does that make any sense at all to you?
It does. I just never thought of it that way.
It's the same idea when you look at Adam and Eve and the Tree of Life. Again, it's an allegory.
Right.
Okay, so they bite the apple, and the apple is the fruit of knowledge, I believe. That's what it is. So now that you've done that, you've moved into that direction. Now you've got to sort of like deal with it. So it's going to be an eternal struggle from that point on. So you've got this, like, it almost seems to be a source of power and You've got all this power available to you, and you have free will. So you can go down one road or you go down another road. So it's sort of like this good versus evil. And if you look at all the stories, it seems the most powerful stories in our human existence are basically good versus evil. We love those stories. And, the Star Wars is a perfect example. Good versus evil resonates with us at a deep, deep level. So anyways, that kind of symbolism, that kind of allegory is something I find fascinating, and I wanted to sort of put that out there for discussion. Okay. So I got another question in regards to that, which sort of bounces off that. Did you freeze?
No.
Okay, you're holding so still.
No, I'm waiting for the question.
Are we going to hell? Is civilization going to hell? Are we going? Are we? Yeah.
It looks that way. However, it looks that way, and I hope we aren't. But compared to other eras of history, we, regardless of all the stuff that's going on, we have progressed.
Mm-hmm.
I had a friend over last night. We were watching these YouTube videos about medieval tortures. There's this two sites, one called Kurzgesagt or something like that.
Uh-huh.
It's called the Infographic Show.
Uh-huh.
And they're talking about different, back in the Roman times and medieval times, the things that humans did to each other.
Mm-hmm.
It's just horrible. And democracy is a relatively new thing.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, most of history, there was no democracy. You had a ruling class. Most people were slaves or peasants. Most people lived really horrible lives, hard lives. Maybe not horrible, but hard. They worked hard. If they got enough to eat, they were probably happy,
Yeah.
and today we have so many resources and so much knowledge about what's good and what to do. But a lot of people are still not doing what they're I don't know what the word.
It'll come to you.
Yeah, it's like I was going to say their innate stupid nature is coming out. Human nature. When you think of human nature, it's never good. You never hear, well, that's just human nature. Human nature doesn't usually mean, well, he's helping old ladies across the street. That's not human nature. Human nature is to, steal the last cupcake while nobody's watching. That's an example. But so I think there's poverty. Actually, I've read about this. Poverty actually has diminished in a lot of countries.
Yes.
People's lifespans are longer. A lot of diseases have been eradicated. However, a whole bunch of new ones have cropped up due to our lifestyles, like diabetes and heart disease and all that. That is our own fault.
Mm-hmm.
And, so as a society, are we going to hell? I hope not. There's signs that people are waking up. People are talking about what's going on. And right now there's a lot of divide and conquer. The powers that be, whoever's really running the world, the globalists, they're trying to divide people and have everybody fighting amongst themselves, and it's happening. You get Trump derangement syndrome, where people are hysterically angry and upset with Trump. And personally, I think Trump's as a human being, he is quite deplorable. However, when a volcano goes off, don't blame Trump. When the tanker runs aground in the Suez Canal, don't blame Trump. Okay, he's not a nice guy, but don't blame everything on him. And so you've got this them or us mentality where we're right, you're wrong. No matter what, we got to fight them. We're not going to listen. It's like, okay, biker gangs are street gangs. Okay, one motorcycle club is at war with the other. They hate each other passionately. They're not cut from the same cloth, basically. It's just
they are.
Yeah, they're the same type of people, except they have different colors. Same thing with sports teams. I mean, obviously sports teams don't kill each other, but our team is going to win, God is going to be on our side, that type of thing, and they're bad. And I remember growing up, like I played on a couple of sports teams in grade school, intramural and stuff like that, or if we went to another school to play, my immediate reaction is they're the enemy. They're bad. we have to beat them. They're bad. They're strange. They're not familiar, and they're bad.
Yeah,
it's like strangers. Many times you go into a new situation, there's all these strangers. Usually my first reaction is suspicion and kind of like wariness. Who are these people? And once you get to know them, they're usually just like you, or they're very nice people. So I don't know how I got onto this, but
no, it's a good topic, and
but I think people are waking up, and there's all this censorship on YouTube and different places. And I think that's because the powers that be are afraid. The truth is coming out, and more people I'm running into are kind of, there's something going on here. There's an agenda going on here. Some stuff is being either not talked about, or you go on the lamestream media. I love that term, lamestream media. You're not getting all the information, or you're getting a certain slant to it.
Well, I made up a saying a couple of years ago, and I posted it on Facebook. I rarely post shit like this on Facebook, and I got into trouble with some people. I just had this thought. It was mainstream media is to the truth what McDonald's is to nutrition.
Yeah, that's true.
And so I never watch it, and never watch any of that stuff. But no, it's true. Lamestream media is an accurate way to describe. But I think society and civilization is degrading, and it's really a crisis of meaning. We used to have a meaning which was in part linked to struggle of survival. You had to get up in the morning, milk the cows, and get out there. And if you didn't do all these things, you were at risk of dying and putting your family. And that's gone away. And because we have this vacuum, Jordan Peterson in a very short summation of what he stands for is he's all about meaning and responsibility, because he recognizes that both those things are very vital and important to the survival and wellness. And when you don't have that, there's a vacuum there, and you want to fill it. And what you fill it with is things like collectivism and looking for oppressed, so that you can. Now we have, like, that's very much the roots of socialism and Marxism. I don't want to say socialism. That sounds too harsh. Communism and Marxism is all, because, Karl Marx grew up in a very prosperous house, and he grew up to hate the very thing that was a part of his life. He was very privileged. And I forget who the other guy was that helped him, but they wrote the books that they wrote, which became the foundation of communism, and which is known as Marxism. And it's all about finding a group of people, or going to people, and you say, look, you guys are oppressed, and the reason you're oppressed is because these people here are oppressing you, and they have all the power, and if you would just resolve that, you will be happy. That's just a twisted way of trying to find meaning in your life, but not looking inwards to finding it, looking externally and trying to point fingers. It's childish when you think about it. It's really childish. And I think that in a very short descriptive way is where we're going at. So yeah. And I'm with you. I hope it doesn't go too deep and degrade and end up going to the very, utter depths of despair and destruction. And,
I'll give you an example of what's hopeful. Okay. You probably have heard this term, about many people haven't, called the manosphere.
Yeah. So
on YouTube again, or any internet site, lots of men are talking about men's issues. And they're real. A lot of them are just angry at women, which I think is kind of childish. But But there's a lot of what's called self-development for men, where they're encouraging young men, especially, to make money, not to be rich, but look at your finances, your careers. They talk a lot about maintaining your health, work out, don't do drugs, don't drink, don't smoke.
All good ideas.
Yes. Read. A lot of them are advocating read all you can. Get a lot of knowledge. A lot of them are saying don't get married or in a long-term relationship until you get your 30s, until you hit your 30s, because you need, when you're in your 20s, you're still trying to figure yourself out. You got to find your path.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And in some ways, they're saying put yourself first, because if you don't, then you're no good to anybody.
Yeah.
Which is good advice. So, and they're also very anti-pornographic.
Yeah.
They're saying quit wasting your life watching porn. They're, and lots of reasons for it. One is it's addictive. Number two, it takes you away from actually real interactions with women. Instead of going out and taking risks and being rejected and honing your romantic skills, if you could call it, people watch porn. And immediate gratification, I guess, in a way. And they're discouraging people to watch porn and video gaming. So there's a good, there's a trend, at least in the manosphere, of older men mentoring younger women. Not younger women, younger men.
Yeah.
They're also giving advice to women as well about how to live here. It's almost like they're the fathers or uncles of the internet. The stuff that your parents should have told you, they are telling people now. So that's happening. That's happening more and more.
Yeah.
And I don't know in the female side what women are teaching other women. I don't know if that. Hopefully that's going. I'm going to get in trouble here, but it'd be nice to see women saying, okay, when you grow up, have some value. Don't be promiscuous. Don't go on OnlyFans. Don't have sex with all the chads and alphas. And then when you hit your mid-30s, you're wondering why you can't find a good man to father your children. I think mothers should be telling their daughters, listen, you have a window from age 18 to, let's say, 40 to raise a family and land a good guy. But no, there's all this, Sex in the City type lifestyle.
I know.
Which probably is not good in the long run.
Yeah,
I'm not saying women should be virgins until they get married or be, have it like the 1950s.
Yeah.
But it's like back in the old days, there was all sorts of repression. Like if a woman had a child out of wedlock, there was lots of shame. And I mean, that's not good because you don't want to traumatize but now it's almost encouraged. It's like, they have TV shows on. I was a teenage mother. It's almost, I want to be a mother too. Like I'm 16. It's like, no, that's a child you're going to raise. So I'm hoping that mothers and older women are mentoring younger women on how to be women,
So what you're saying is that still exists in both camps with men and women.
Yeah.
And these groups have formed probably because of the internet, where have easy access. Which is a good thing. And and by the same token, you've got the whole other camp who are 100% stuck in victim mode, and men are evil, and what you just said makes you a misogynist, you bastard, and they're going to stay in victim mode, which is a part of what I'm talking about. You're stuck in victim mode, and you're all about, instead of about looking for rights and responsibilities, you're looking for rights over responsibility.
Yeah.
That's what I meant to say. And, there's little, I want to say there's little growing up, and responsibility is a part of growing up. So society, they're old-fashioned values, what you're talking about.
Yes. Yeah.
They're really traditional values. And I think there's room for them, and I hope they never go away. And if we go down the road of just instant gratification and poo-pooing the things that are traditional, and it won't be a pretty picture. So
because a lot of people are growing up with a sense of entitlement. Well, I should have this, I should get that. Well, sometimes even if you do all the right things, you're not going to get what you want. That's where looking for meaning in your life.
Meaning.
Yeah, what is I think everybody has their own meaning that they look for in life. Some people making as much money as possibly they can gives them meaning. Whether that's good or bad, I probably isn't a great thing.
Probably not. No.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with making money and having money. It's awesome, but if that's all you care about, I mean, your life is sort of what's the word? Your life isn't as good as it should be. And it's the opposite way. There's some people who are just satisfied to be unambitious and not really get ahead in anything, and they're just coasting. And well, they might be happy, but they could be happier if they, maybe expanded their horizons, career-wise or skills-wise or whatever.
So, what do you think of Harry and Meghan?
Oh my God!
Let's go there, and then we'll close it off.
Harry and Meghan. Okay, I feel sorry for the poor. He's the ultimate simp.
Yeah. What's a simp, to remind everyone?
Simp is a man who will do everything he can to please a woman or his woman, and
she's the dominant force.
Yeah, he puts her on a pedestal. He doesn't probably think that much of himself, and he's probably just thinking, "I'm so lucky to have her." And I think she's the ultimate narcissist.
I was going to say that. And did you watch or did you hear about the interview with Oprah?
I watched snippets of it. I've heard a lot about it. I don't like Oprah either, and that's a whole show. I can't stand Oprah.
Yeah. So Meghan, what do you think of Meghan? And you said the word narcissist, and that's exactly
narcissistic.
What I think.
Probably very manipulative. She's playing Harry.
She's hypergamous.
Yeah, hypergamous. Yes.
And she probably had a completely different set of ideas as to what it was going to be like marrying into.
Most likely, yeah.
Never went her way because she's a narcissist, and so last grasp at the straw would be to get on Oprah, play total victim. I had the impression she was playing total victim.
Yeah.
So it's hard to feel sorry for him. I don't know if you've seen that meme. There's a meme.
No, I haven't seen it.
It's funny as hell. So there's Oprah and Harry and Meghan, and somebody added diamonds and gold and money, piles of money, and put a crown on him and a crown on her, and money all over Oprah. And I forget what it was, but it was like, oh, my life is so hard. Oh, tell me all about it.
Oh my God.
So it was meme worthy. Anyways, let's I want to ask you one more question.
All right.
Walter Mercado. Have you ever heard of Mercado?
No.
It was cool. He's a documentary an hour and a half documentary I watched the other night. So my wife went to bed early, and I was like, I got an hour left before I go to bed. So I said, what am I going to do? And let's go back and watch Netflix. And I had this documentary in my favorites list, and I said, well, let's just watch this. I had no idea who it was, and it was about this character, Walter Mercado, who was born in Puerto Rico, and he was an astrologer, and he was like huge in all over Latin America and the United States. I don't know so much about Canada. He was on TV, he was on talk shows. He's extremely flamboyant. And when you look at him, you're like, man, he looks like a woman. He's has strong feminine features, but he's got big, flowy, blondish hair. And he looks somewhat androgynous, but a character. He had these capes, right? And he became extremely popular. But anyways, it was an interesting documentary, and it's amazing how one can find these little stories of people that I had zero idea he existed. But, if probably anybody who grew up in the United States, especially probably where there's a strong Latin community, would probably, oh yeah, Walter Mercado, of course, everybody knew him. He was huge. Anyways, he just died last year. He died 3 months after this documentary was done.
How old was he when he died?
He was like 88 or something like that. So
really? Oh.
He was born in 1932.
Oh, okay.
So you'll have to check it out on Netflix, or if it's on YouTube at some point in time. I think you'll find it quite fascinating. So, the first question you ask yourself is, well, he's gay, obviously, but then no, is he? I don't know. Maybe he's just very flamboyant and feminine, and he gets asked that during an interview, and you get the impression that he's still a virgin.
Oh, maybe he's asexual. Non-binary, whatever they call it. But anyway, an interesting character, nevertheless, extremely popular back in the day, and it
It was like the #1 show, and culturally relevant for that community. And you really get that sort of very clear message. Just thought I'd mention that in case you had heard of him. And
Okay, no, I haven't heard of him. No.
Walter Mercado.
Okay, I'll have to look that up.
Yeah, so he was quite the dude, and you kind of like the guy. You're watching it. Yeah, he's all right. He's very new agey because this thing is astrology, and he might be bullshitting you. I don't know. It could be complete and total bunk. He's just got a gift at spewing out stuff, but it's like he's making people feel good. He's spreading positive messages. It's almost like it's the McDonald's of positivity. And his motto was mucho mucho amor, which is mean much mucho amor, much love. So he's always using terminologies like that. So interesting stuff. And that's all I got to say about that.
Okie dokie.
Shall we call it a wrap?
We are signing off then.
So we just wung it. This was us just winging it, not even.
Yeah.
So who knows? I mean, yeah, it's a thing. All right, hold on. Don't leave. I'm going to pause the recording here.